Hello, everybody. Welcome to Equestrian Tea Time, hosted by myself, Isabeau Salas, and my co-host, Emma Jenkinson. We have for you today Colette Sossaman. Colette has been there and back in the horse industry, and she's going to tell us how she got to her very successful, very happy barn manager model. She now runs her facility as a self-care facility after years of teaching and training and surviving the gauntlet of tremendous challenges in her business. She's an active content creator on TikTok and has a lot of interesting insights to share from her many decades in the horse industry. Enjoy. Thanks for listening.
So I grew up in New Hampshire till I was about 36 is when I kind of left permanently, haven't been back. But I was always a horse fanatic from 3 years old. By the time I was 5, my mom finally gave me lessons. And it was, back in an era where kids worked. If you wanted to ride, you had to work. And so by the time I was 8 years old, I've been taking lessons for 3 years. So of course I was a big deal then, because I was 8, been riding for 3 years, but joined 4-H and joined Pony Club, which I think are the two best institutions for anybody. And now I'm understanding they have an adult pony club, which I think is fantastic. So at 8 years old, I got my first horse and I worked every day for an entire summer and made $100 the entire summer and got a horse. Yeah, 6-month-old colt. And
6 months.
He was 6 months old, just weaned, a weanling. And was in Pony Club 4-H, and then took the school bus to after school to the barn, and would clean stalls, would water, would feed, would do anything to pay for my horse's board. And my mom did end up putting in stalls at our house, but I was always at the barn, always. My mom I'd either be taking the bus, my mom would drop me off on weekends, or when my horse was at an age that he was broke and I was riding, I would ride back and forth to the barn 10 miles each way. I never knew horses were supposed to have a day off. I didn't know that on the weekends you didn't get up at the crack of dawn and ride until dusk, and the horses didn't know either. There was a whole gaggle of us kids. I grew up in a small town, 300 people. We all rode horses, and that was our freedom. That was our ticket to freedom, because we couldn't start riding till dawn, and if we weren't back by dark, we couldn't ride the next day. So, we'd gallop out in the morning, and when the sun would start going down, we'd all gallop home. So we didn't know.
Wow.
And but the beauty about 4-H and Pony Club back then, 4-H, if you were in the 4-H club, the 4-H leader could drop in, if you had your horse at home, could drop in at any time and check the status of your horse. You had a clipboard that you had to keep when you cleaned the stall, when you watered, when you groomed. Everything was listed there, and you put dates and times. And the 4-H leader could drop in any time and check on the welfare of your horse. It was really cool. So it kept you on your toes. And then on the weekends, we either had a Pony Club rally or meetings or 4-H or something. But I was completely and totally immersed in horses from the time I was 5 with lessons. By the time I was 8, I was actually working at a barn to pay for my horse. And I had my Club B. Yeah, I had my B rating by the time I was 14. And then went on to a equestrian school, and then have done horses my entire life, one way or the other. Sometimes it took 3 jobs and to be able to afford horses. There was always the horse job, and then the 2 other jobs that supported the horse job. So you can show and take lessons and that kind of thing. Yeah.
So you had your own business for a number of years, or you still do lessons, boarding?
I have a fairly large facility. I've got 28 stalls. I have 7 sheds, 15 acres. I've been at this facility for 14 years, and a prior facility about half the size, 17 years prior to that. But I never had any intentions of having my own facility. Truly, I never wanted to be the smartest person at the facility. I always wanted to be learning and having a mentor. And it just through just life, I found myself owning my first facility by default. I bought that facility and worked for another facility importing Friesians. and they leased my facility for the broodmares because we had sometimes around 26 stallions on property. And so the broodmares were a problem in trying to train stallions. So they leased my place with 16 stalls for all the broodmares and babies and get them weaned. And then when I left there, I started my own business, and I've had my own business since then. So now 17 years and about 30 years I've had my own business of
Gotcha.
teaching, training. But I consider myself retired now. I
Okay.
have a self-care facility, and I have a couple of different online businesses.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So Emma and I had started out by going online and asking people for their working student or internship horror stories. So of course we've got plenty of people raising their hands, but also plenty of people saying, I own a barn. Let me tell you about some of the crazy employees that I've had. So you are welcome to tell us, about either your personal internship stories or as a business owner, what your system of having interns and working students has been like. Our overall goal is to try to, find ways for everything to somehow be better in the future. We find a lot of young people don't really know what they're getting into. They don't know how to find what would be a good fit for them. And a lot of farm owners are just they can't find any staff, and every person is an idiot and a nitwit, and everything's changed. It's very different.
Everything has
I grew
changed.
up in 4-H too. Things have changed. I also grew up in 4-H in the 70s and 80s, and yes, I had an on the books job as a teenager, and things are not like that now.
Things are not like that. Very interesting.
It's interesting. People are really having a hard time, and the facility owners are the ones who have the mortgage and all the costs.
Yes.
They're putting out $1 million, and
Yes.
your reward for that is you get a barn full of people who don't know what they're doing, who wreck their stuff, who don't show up and do what they're supposed to do. And
Yes.
a lot of facility owners and business owners are very unhappy.
Yes, absolutely. I'm in a couple of different groups on Facebook exactly on
Yes.
those subjects. Yes.
Yes. Yep.
And I have said this for years that we are not producing horsemen anymore, and probably never will again. It's sort of industry wide. The work ethic has gone down the shitter. It's really it's really in a bad and sad state of affair. And I'll tell you the pivotal moment for me. So I had a working student program, and so is your question what people need to look for in a working student program? Is that one of your questions?
Yes. So one of our questions is, so what is your internship working? What is your program like, and what do you think? If you could give advice to working students who are looking for a program,
Yeah.
or if you want to give advice to other farm owners of how you go about successfully finding working students or trying to.
Yeah. So working student program in the past has always been like the easiest way to have an outsider looking in on the day-to-day workings of a horse industry. And working student programs, I personally think a good working student program is the single best way without the financial commitment to be immersed in the horse business and not have the financial responsibility of a horse business. The day-to-day workings. Watch what these trainers do on the daily, every single day, 365 days a year. It's not real pretty. It's not pretty. People think it's so glamorous. We work our tails off for nothing. I've always said horses are my drug of choice because it's my passion, my obsession, and my addiction. You do whatever you have to ride a horse every day. But the working student programs I grew up with were extremely good. Denny Emerson had a great working student program. And growing up in New England, I really think it was advantageous because I had so many extremely good mentors around me. Jane Savoy, Sally Swift, Denny Emerson, Robin Culver Groves, the Poulins, Michael and his brother. I can't remember his brother's name. Poulin, Dr. Van Schaik. I was riding with Dr. Van Schaik when I was 10 years old. So I was so Kathy Connolly, I was riding with when I was 14 years old. And fun fact, I took three lessons with her last year as a clinician 50 years later. I was riding with Kathy Connolly again. And I was like, do you remember High Lawn Farm? She's like, oh my gosh, Liz Young, Ted Young, Robin Culver. Yeah. So It's just these lifelong equestrians have been through it all. But the criteria I say to look for, if you're going to be a working student, figure out what discipline you want first. Do you want to jump? Do you want to ride dressage? Do you want to event? Do you want to do hunter jumper? Are you interested in endurance? Are you interested? What kind of floats your boat with the equestrian world? Because it's not a one size fits all. So figure out your discipline first. Then say it's dressage, because that's mine. I would go to USDF and look for the judges and clinicians that are listed and certified in there. It's a pretty rigorous program to be listed in there. I would look at them, see if they have an active facility that are not retired like I am and have a working student program offered. And then find out when I advertised for working students, I advertised on Indeed and Yard and Groom. And I listed exactly what would happen every day. I had a good working student program. And, I posted a couple of videos on this on my TikTok and got a few horror stories back. But I think, really they didn't kind of do their own due diligence in looking for a working student program. Mine was, and it worked very well. I had an apartment. I have 2 apartments above the barn. They had an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment. I had 2 working students for 3-month internships. They could renew, but it was a minimum of 3 months. They had the apartment, all the utilities, Wi-Fi, big screen TV, it's a fully furnished, the whole deal. And they worked 5.5 days a week. They had a day and a half in a row off. So like a Saturday afternoon, I wouldn't see them again until Monday. They had 2 lessons a day, either in the arena or my show horses or training horses that were capable got hacked out in the afternoon. At that point, I had about 400 acres across the street that was open land that we could ride on, and it was perfect. So they would hack out my show horses or training horses, whatever I had. We'd go hack out horses. And then they had 10 stalls to clean and 10 horses to feed and a feeding twice a day, and then the pastures and whatnot. So they were immersed in the day-to-day operations of it. And then Friday nights, we had pizza and beer. I always took 21-year-olds. I wanted them to be, over 18, and I preferred over 21. We go to the pizza shop on Friday nights. And that was our, and I was here training horses all day, and they would help me with that. If I had horses to start, they were in the round pen with me. I had problem horses come in. I had a lot of stallions. That was kind of my forte. So they got a lot of hands-on with the stallions. They didn't particularly handle them because most of the stallions came in as naughty boys, and they just needed my one-on-one attention to get the rules straight. But they were certainly, in the stall grooming them, that kind of thing, and watching me with them. So it was a really successful program. But I hear these nightmare stories. I had a gal come on TikTok, said she was there for 2 months and never rode a horse. Never rode a horse. Like, why do you? Why? That is, in my opinion, wrong. That's really wrong. However, were you told you were going to ride, or what was the outline? Were you told the first 2 months you'll just be doing barn work? Or so I don't have all the details for it, but I think a working student program, people expect to ride. They want to ride horses. So mine worked very well. I have heard in the industry that it's extremely hard to get a working student now. It blows my mind. It just blows my mind. So I think and that was one of the things that was pivotal for me going self-care was the fact that I couldn't keep staff. Yeah.
Couldn't keep staff. So what do you do? Tell us about your self-care facility. So how do you run that now? How do you, everybody, I know farm owners want to do it, but they're scared. It's scary. What if the people don't take good enough care of their horses and stuff? That's like the most important thing.
That's always the biggest fear. And as horsemen, we're such control freaks about how we do things and how our barn runs. And so what I tell people is you have to have a lot of structure to the self-care, because people have this impression, self-care, oh my God, they can just run willy-nilly and do what they want. You can't here, not at my barn. You can't. One of the things, and I never, ever expected to go self-care. Never. What was pivotal for me, it was not one day I woke up and said, oh, I'm going to go self-care. It's going to be perfect. I'll make so much more money. Everything will work. That did not happen. I broke my leg in 3 places. I had what I thought was shin splints. I thought I had shin splints. and my leg was killing me. And I kept saying to people, man, shin splints are no joke. And I was icing and elevating. And I had sold a horse out to California, and she asked me to come out, work with her for 2 weeks with this horse once he shipped. I was like, perfect. I can rest my leg. I can teach. I was out there for a couple of weeks, so I got asked to do other clinics. And I was like, this is perfect. I can sit with my leg up, ice my leg. I felt like $1,000,000 after those 2 weeks. I love to dance. I've been swing dancing for 20 years. Hadn't been dancing because my leg had hurt. So I said, oh my gosh, I can go dancing again. These shin splints are healed. I got out on the dance floor, did a triple spin, and broke my leg in 3 places from the knee down, spiral, vertical fracture, just shards. And I was riding 6, 8 horses a day. I had working students. I had 28 horses. No, I had 52 horses here, I think, 28 in the barn, and a million lessons. I had a full lesson program with 9 school horses. I mean, crazy busy. And I broke my leg. I couldn't walk. And I lived on the 2nd story. And so I immediately ordered a boot from Amazon. I iced my leg. I went and got an x-ray. So everything was in alignment. I didn't need pins, didn't need screws. So I put on that boot, you can rent, believe it or not, you can rent knee scooters. I had one for my upstairs apartment. I had one at the bottom of the stairs that actually had bigger tires, all-terrain tires on it, because I had to run this barn, and I had to send all the training horses home. I lost over $10,000 a month in training, like that, gone. It really, everything spiraled the drain. I couldn't afford working students anymore because I just lost 10K. So I lost my labor as well. I had to send them home. So I had to figure out how to keep this boat floating, and decided I would, and this leads right into the nightmare story of the boarding business.
Gotcha.
I said, well, I will hire a husband and wife team, because I knew it would take 2 people to do the job that I did. I hired the first husband and wife team, came with great resume. When she arrived, she told me she was pregnant. And so I thought, well, how is this going to work? She said, I fully intend on having the baby in the barn, and it's going to be fine. Okay, we'll ride this out. Her husband didn't even know how to clean a stall. He had been a groom. He had never taken care of it. But they were willing to learn. Oh, okay, we'll work with this. It turned into an absolute nightmare. And she got real sick in her pregnancy. So here was the deal. I gave them $2,500 a month in cash. I gave them an apartment for free, and I gave them 2 stalls for free. And they could start their own training business if they liked. They could just rent a dry stall for $150 a month. The rest is on them. Golden opportunity. He was a cult starter. Golden opportunity. She was a real problem. And talking to all my clients, yippity. I knew what was going on. And then she made a really bad mistake, and she put a meme on Facebook directed towards me. Blocked me, but a lot of other people saw it that knew me, sent it to me, and I turned and I fired them both on the spot and told them, get out. I had to have a police escort get her out of here, because she was sitting in the parking lot flipping off my clients as they were coming to the barn. It was an absolute total nightmare. But me, still got faith in the industry. I hire another couple because I think it's such a great concept. You have an apartment, you have cash. And by the way, they both had 2 days off, and the same 2 days, because they were married. So I thought, you need to have the same days off. So I had to hire a part-time person to take care of their days off. In the meantime, because I couldn't do much other than sit, I was teaching a lot. I was going off property and teaching a lot. The second couple comes in, same story. Come to find out, he's on fentanyl pain patches and showing my clients his patch. Somebody said, what's that patch? And he said, oh, that's my fentanyl pain patch, the highest. And so they're coming to me going, do you know he's on fentanyl handling? I lost my mind. And so I had to go to my clients and say, listen, I'm going to give you a 30-day notice. Like anybody else, I expect when they leave to give me a 30-day notice. This is what we're going to do. It's going to go all self-care. I can show you Absolutely everything. You don't need to be here every day. Y'all can co-op. They were all fairly local. Y'all can co-op on taking care. The round bales are out there. I have this down to a science. We can do this. Out of 28 clients, 2 stayed. 2.
Oh
My
boy.
barn was a ghost town. So now that income is gone too. I still have the same mortgage. I still have the same, I still have the same utilities. I still have the same property taxes. And I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? So I started advertising self-care. Oh, my last ditch effort before I gave them the 30-day notice. The part-timers that I could never get anybody to commit to the full-time, I said, you know what? I'm just going to, these precious little angels, I'm just going to make a calendar with all the shifts on it. And I'm going to hire people until I get these shifts covered. They can do whatever days they want. They can trade. They can do whatever they want. I ended up hiring 6 part-time workers, 6 they could have taken 40 hours, 4 hours, 3. Do you know, out of 6 people, I could not get the shifts covered every month. Could not do it. Could not do it. And so I was tearing my hair out. And the last thing that was going to happen was I was going to sell my place. That wasn't happening. I knew the broken leg was temporary. I had to get through this tight spot. However, being 60 and breaking your leg in 3 places, I really thought, I just got to get through 6 to 8 weeks. I'm riding again. I wasn't riding for another year and a half. But in the meantime, yeah, it was bad. It would not heal, would not knit. That was a really bad place. There's not much circulation. That was a nightmare.
Yikes.
And so I'm on a knee scooter. I got sail horses. It was just terrible. And so I told my clients that, and they all left and went to other full care facilities. So because I have, good connections in the community, I just went out and did a lot of freelance teaching. I had done that in the past. I knew it was lucrative, and I had 3 or 4 barns I would go to once a week, and it was cash. It's a good cash cow. Teaching is a great cash cow. If you need money quick, just amp up your freelance teaching. You don't have to have school horses. You can charge mileage. Girl, if there was a patch of grass around a tree, I can teach you something there, so and that's how I came up. I didn't have a dressage arena. I had nothing at home. I had wide open fields, and the bush of the lilac bush was A and the oak tree was C, and I did movements in between there, and then went to the horse show that weekend. So you don't have to have all these fancy facilities and whatnot to get the job. You can ride dressage out on the trail, and I recommend you do. There are so many things you can do without an arena. But that was the pivotal point. I never intended on going self-care ever. And then I had to work out the kinks in self-care. The first thing I did was put in tack lockers. That was really important because I knew there was always little pissing matches about territory in the open tack room. I just had more control of it when it was full care. And you didn't see as many clients when it's full care. They're not here every day. So I immediately put in tack lockers, which was a one-time cost. They're stupid expensive, but I'm really glad I did lockers. And then I had to open up a space for hay and feed and delicate, trunk space, which I had I took down the temporary stalls, which was a substantial amount of 10. I had 10 temporary stalls. So, that opened up a big space, and you can stack 10 bales of hay on a pallet. I have hay delivered every month. I have round bales delivered. I have pallets of feed for sale, and I have a trailer of bedding, all of which I sell at a profit, all of which used to cost me money in full care, and I never knew what the variable was going to be. Now, all of it makes me money.
Good.
I had also those 2 years, it just kind of all hit at once. It was like an avalanche it was like a shit fall of avalanche those few years. We had 2 years. 1 year it was drought. 1 year it was flood. We had no hay crop. I was driving 300-400 miles to find decent hay, which I wasn't going to do anything but have decent hay. And that was on my dime. I went $30,000 in debt in credit card, lost all my credit. It took me another 2 years to dig my way out of it. I'm 5 years into self-care now, and finally back in the black. But I have found my way through this, and I can tell you, after all that shit, after all that crap that fell, if I had to do my entire career over again, I would run my business exactly the way I'm running it now. other than I might have a groom or a working student, because I would have still wanted to ride 6 to 8 horses. I don't have those desires now. I'm 65. I mean, like, I've checked that box. I don't need to ride 6, 8 horses a day and show every other weekend. But as far as the business outline, girl, hands down, hands down. I have 0 employees. If I need mowing done, I hire a tractor guy. I have a guy that does around the barn, the finish mowing around the barn, the pretty stuff. I have, like I said, hay delivered, feed delivered. All of it is delivered, and I've had to kick out just 4 or 5 people for poor care. One of which was a veterinarian, and 2
I believe you.
and
I
2
believe
vet
you.
techs. Yeah,
I believe you. Yep.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I'm 53. I've seen vets do some stuff. I believe you. No, yeah, I'm not.
So crazy. So I went through the fire to get to where I am right now.
Yeah.
It was not an easy, it was trial and error. I had never done it before. Everybody has this thought of self-care being a horse show, and it can be. You can't come here and not clean your stall. You can't come here and not feed your horse. You're out of here. No, and people know on the front end and you're in the business long enough, you get a feel for it. But there's things you need to ask. Where are they boarding currently? Who's their farrier? Who's their vet? If they don't have those things in place, when was their last Coggins and vaccinations done? If they don't know what a Coggins is, if they don't know who their vet is, they can't remember when their horse last had hoof care, I will first educate and say, here, you have to use my farrier. It has to be a minimum of 8 weeks. I have 4, 5, 6, and 8 week rotation. Trimming, I don't mind if it's 8 weeks and you're not riding. I don't care. Shoeing and that 5, 6 weeks. You have to take care of your horse here. Now, I tell them my horses stay out all the time too, unless it's bad weather. They stay out. I have fantastic round bales, but big 250-gallon tanks of water. Yeah, you could get by by coming out twice a week. You can if the weather's good. Or the other option is put a Shelter Logic out there. Your dime, not mine. Put a Shelter Logic out there, and your horse has all the bases covered. That works. You don't have to be here. That's the other people's reservation. Oh my God, I can't get there twice a day every day. You don't have to. I got that covered too. Well, I also offer partial care, which has really been monumental for people. Not only, shit happens. People are sick. People have emergencies. People go on vacations. They have other obligations. And so I do offer partial care. And that works really well.
Yeah. Now, I mean, my guess is, having worked at the number of barns and stuff that I have worked in, what I have seen people on all parts really have a hard time doing is establishing and holding boundaries, making rules, and then sticking to them, both ourselves and our client. Okay, so did you say that? Now, do you think you were like that before you broke that leg, or did going through this really help build up your resolve to?
Oh no, I've been a tyrant my whole life. No.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. I mean, people complain about farm owners as tyrants, but the thing is, if you don't hold boundaries, everybody just runs all over you. I mean, the borders will be, well, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? I know my horse doesn't get turned out, but why can't you just hand walk him? They'll leave the cooler on the horse and take off, and the lifts just leave stuff for you, presuming that I mean, people will do everything, right? Like, they'll ask for everything, they will do everything, they will try to get you to do as much as they can. And then they'll act like, oh, well, why aren't you willing to? So, I mean, people either have the ability in themselves, or they become, quote unquote, to tyrants. And that's a little bit of a rough word. But no, you've got to hold boundaries. If you don't, I'm not evil. This is just my policy here. If you don't like it, that's fine. But I counter a lot of people who can't or won't, hold.
Some people shouldn't be in the horse business. Some people shouldn't be in the horse business. I see it every single day in my groups of, and they're listing off the things this client has done to them in their barn, on their property, at their home. And I'm thinking, and they're still there. Wait, there's more. And they're still there. And what should I do? Girl? Yeah. So here's what I always say. Go into it as a business. Go into it as a business. Have your policies and procedures. And here's what I say is the boundary. Your clients need to know the difference between full care and full service. So full care, the way I determine it, full care is I feed your horse twice a day. I give your horse hay 4 times a day or unlimited out in the pasture. If they're, have round bales, I always had round. I'm always free choice. I will always be free choice. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn them out. I'm going to bring them in every day. I'm going to feed them every day. That is full care. Full service. Do you want his feet picked? Do you want a blanketing service? Do you want a grooming service? Do you want a shampoo service? All that stuff I used to farm out to the working students. They could make a little fun money by doing shampoos, doing groomings, hoof picking, blanketing. Blanketing, all I charged was $1.50 to put a blanket on and $1.50 to take it off. Now down here, that wasn't a daily thing because you might have a blanket on for 3 or 4 days. So it was $1.50 when I put it on, and then $1.50 when I took it off. And I just kept everything simple, hash marks. Springtime, I added those up before blankets went out for the blanket service that did washing and cleaning for the season, and they paid me. Girl, people that are not charging for that stuff, like it added up to $800, $1,000 just at $1.50 a pop, so it's not something that you just like, who throws away $1,000?
Yeah.
So that is a clarity. And I think what happens is these horse owners, they open their barn. They just want everybody to be happy. We're a family. I love everybody. I love your horse. Of course I'll do that. I'll do everything. And then it gets overwhelming. Then you set that bar. You set yourself up for burnout. That's where burnout comes from. You can't, then you stop riding your own horse because you're exhausted. You don't have time, or this one's sick. So the other policy I made, your horse gets sick, you either come to the barn and you watch it overnight, or I'll haul it for a fee to a clinic. I'm not staying up all night with your horse. And that was an expectation they had. No, I got to get up and ride 6 to 8 horses. Your horse is sick. It's not my problem. That is full service. I'm not staying up all night. You are welcome to come here and stay up all night, or we will take the horse and hospitalize it. That's it.
Yep.
So those things all it's in my contract. That has to be on the front end. And that's the problem so the clients have to be educated on that because, but I thought I had full care. You do. You have full care. You do not have full service. If you'd like full service, I'm happy to give you full service, but these are the costs. So I had a cost sheet on that. That is, I think, the biggest mistake barn owners, because I see it every single day on my groups. These women, bless their hearts. But I just came across a Chris Cox interview podcast, and I know Chris Cox because when I was working for a Frisian farm, we used to travel all over the country doing the same equestrian shows that Chris Cox was at, Equine Affair and Equitana and the Hamptons and the Rolex and Walnut Hill and California. We're always on the road with a couple of different trailers. So it's kind of the same people that back then when it was the Chris Cox and the John Lyons and all those cowboy trainers. And so we saw Chris Cox a lot. And he, like him or hate him, hard worker. He never, ever stopped. And he retired, I think, at 43 with millions. God bless him, But when he gets on a podcast and starts bitching that he can't keep help, it's not just us that are just horrible, tyrant, bitchy women, But when he's on there saying, and he's so funny, he's such a horseman with the language and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. He says, if you just work 8 hours, put your fucking phone down, stop with the selfies and stop with the pissing and moaning on the Twitter and the shitter and the Facebook and the TikToks and all that stuff. And he is reading our mail. It is not just bitchy barn owners that are hormonal or whatever these people say that you can't work for her. She's horrible. When Chris Cox has the same problems we have, and you see 50 posts in a day of barn owners that are tearing their hair out, that have offered housing and 401ks and insurance. And 8 years ago, I was giving $15 an hour cash just bring your little, but they can't work. An 18-year-old at the end of the day has a sore back. No, the 60-year-old has a sore back. You don't have, your back doesn't hurt, mine does, So it's an industry-wide problem, and it is not just for the, average boarding barn industry.
Mhm.
The top trainers have problems keeping help. It is
Yeah,
industry-wide.
No, I
So,
like the self-care idea a lot because a lot of clients too, just part of the reason they're so demanding is they have never done this work and they have no idea. Like
oh,
they just have
absolutely.
no idea how obnoxious it is. Could you just please do these extra things? I do not have an hour and a half extra day for your horse. I
Ever.
I cannot do you have any horses? I mean, no, I can't, no. And they just don't
They do
know.
not. They do
When they
not.
come to the barn and it takes them 3 hours just to do the basics because they have no practice at it, takes them 45 minutes to do a stall because they don't have any skills.
Exactly.
They start to come to realize, yes, somebody who can power through stalls like a demon, that isn't nothing. That's worth something, and you should be nice to that person. A lot of they just don't know. They haven't done the work. They haven't been grooms. They haven't been working students. They have no idea.
And the other problem in the industry, when you do have staff, every damn owner thinks it's their staff and that they can boss them around.
Yeah.
Oh, I have
Yeah.
a real problem with that. Like, not.
Yes.
I do not come to your job and sit there and talk to your staff and tell them what to do and override what you've asked your staff to do. I do not. I also do not come and sit at your desk because I'm bored and I want to chit chat. Because they think that I don't do anything. They used to, they think, oh, she's there all day. Yeah, dying, killing myself every day. When I had a working student program, I had an egg timer, 10 minutes. I can do a stall in 5 to 7 minutes. I give them twice as much time. I put an egg timer. Every stall, they turn that egg timer to 10 minutes. Clean that stall in 10 minutes. That's how you get better with pressure. You get better with pressure. And then I would check that stall and turn it over and find the pee and find the rest of the poop, show them how to shake it out and show them how don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. There's a budget, blah, blah, blah. And the 10-minute egg timer worked so good. And I would work shoulder shy. I'd be in the next stall with my egg and I'd be standing there at about 6 minutes going, you got 4 more minutes. I'm done with my stall. You're welcome to check my stall. And it really, really brought home the work ethic that has to happen in a barn. You cannot take 20 and 25 minutes per stall. That stall doesn't generate enough money to pay you that. It doesn't. It's such a razor thin margin, and we have to meet the market. We got to feed these horses. We have to pay the mortgage. We have so much pressure on us, and who knows when the next vet bill is coming. So it's a very, very difficult industry. But I think you just have working students crying at this point. They just be crying. I call it the tutu syndrome. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's too stressed, they're too tired. The tutu syndrome. There's always something,
Tutu.
Oh my God, I'm too bloated, I'm cramping, oh my God. However, I have 100 and over 150 inquiries now on my self-care program, and I am developing a digital product that will have, I don't know how many very short videos kind of discussing each component of the boarding industry, self-care and full care, and what you need to know before you go into this. And awesome. I do consultations now in my private messages. I get a lot of people. I've successfully turned around 4 barns now into making profit. But you're
doing consulting work. That's awesome.
Yeah. And where it's the pivotal point is structure. People standing up for themselves. People saying no. Say it. No.
I love that word. I love my favorite word. I love it so much. I love it. I love it. My favorite word. My favorite word. The whole
set policies. So
yes, sticking to them.
When I started, I used to charge $25. You leave poop in the driveway, it's $25. That wasn't enough to hit. When I raised it, so I raised it to $50. You leave poop in my driveway, it's $50, and I collect on it. I collect that $50. I do not. It's not. You don't get a warning. We're all grown. Yeah. Your horse just shit there. You know that. You've been by it 3 times. You leave poop in my cross ties, it's $50. Yeah. You leave poop on the wash rack, it's $50. They only do that once. And then they bitch about it to everybody else, and nobody does it.
Yeah.
So,
No, the following through is the hard part. People are always asking on the barn manager groups, well, what policies, what rules? The policies and the rules are worthless if you are not going to, you have to apply them. They have to be followed. There is no, you cannot make anybody behave. You have to enforce it. If you do not, it's a look, oh, look, I have them on the wall. Aren't they nice? They're very, very pretty. Doesn't mean anything. If you don't come in, it means nothing. It's pretty. That's great.
if you are going to be a doormat, you will get walked on. Be a doormat, you will get walked on. That is a guarantee. People are going to talk about you regardless. I don't care how nice you are. I don't care about being nice. I care about being fair, and I care about keeping simplicity and drama free. Don't. If you have a question, there's two things you got to know around here. Ask Colette. Ask Colette. Don't ask another boarder. Ask Colette. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And
all right.
And
awesome.
It works great.
All right. Awesome. Colette, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I have to get back to the barn. I love the idea of your program. So why don't you tell us about, either you can tell us about your boarding barn or give us some hints if somebody wants to call you to get in touch with you to consult on their boarding barn. How do they get in touch with you?
TikTok or Facebook. TikTok or Facebook are my two big accounts. I'm on TikTok more because I post videos every day over there. The editing is so much easier on TikTok. So just hit me up on TikTok or Facebook.
Cool.
Either one.
Do you have a business name or it's just Colette Sossaman?
It's just TikTok? Colette Sossaman. I also have a Gemini Farms page, but most people go to just Colette Sossaman. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Awesome. And are you going to you're developing a program, something that you're going to, online thing you're going to offer to people?
Yes. It'll be a digital download. Real easy. Yep.
Nice. I'm an online junkie. I just took a 30-day Lucinda Green course, and now I'm taking a Amelia Newcomb 30-day sit the trot challenge.
Good for you. Yeah.
I'm really excited about people taking up the online thing. So I hope barn owners do take you up on the education part. I see that they like to go online and complain. We got to get them to take the next step. And now
you got to take action.
Do something.
You have to take action. You have to do something different to get something different.
Something different, yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
So much.
Really appreciate it.
Happy to help.
On TikTok. All right.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.